Okay, welcome. We're here at InstallerSHOW 2025. The doors are finally open. It's been a long road in today, so welcome. If you're watching on YouTube, welcome to the live stream. We're going to be hosting a number of fantastic one-to-one interviews here throughout the show, so please do tune in when you can. The show is also available for on demand, so feel free to log in at any point and download when you're ready. So we are here today, first one of the day, and we're here with Olivia Weaver from Harrison James. Olivia, I'll let you introduce yourself and who you are, what you do. But we're really pleased that here at InstallerSHOW we have some female presence, which is long overdue, may I add. Olivia, welcome.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, not too bad.
How's things at the moment?
Stressful.
Yes.
So we open our showroom doors on the 28th.
Tell us a little bit about yourself first. So come on in. What do you do? So
I own Harrison James kitchens, bedrooms, bathrooms.
Super.
We have been going for just over 2 years.
Wow.
Fitting side mainly, but we're now in the process of opening our own showroom.
So you've gone from a fitting company and you've diversified into retailing.
Yeah. Okay,
cool, excellent. And what was the move for that? What was the need for that?
Just to expand and just to grow. So my main background is retail. Okay. So I've started on the retail and then went into the fitting.
Got it.
So we're now going backwards again and going back into the retail side of it.
Backward, step forward. I mean, diversifying. That makes sense. Yeah, really good, excellent. So listen, the reason why we're here today, really specifically talking to you, is just around the role that females play within the industry. And I think it's all very well middle-aged white blokes like myself saying we need more women, but we need to understand why. Why isn't it a far more diverse industry? And no better speaking to somebody who's sort of walk the walk and talk the talk, and that's you. So tell us a little bit about your entry into installation.
So installation was through Harry, who also owns Harrison James, my husband. Yeah. Obviously, it was just a case of we needed extra hands. We needed to make sure that the fitting could go ahead, and fitting kitchens and bathrooms week in, week out with just one person, you only can do so much. Having that second person is always helpful. It's really helped me in the sales side of it as well, because that means I actually know what's going where, and I can think about things a little bit more logically and a little bit more to the fitting side. Sure. So yeah, getting into it was, I own my own business and you kind of got to do it. Yeah, absolutely. So how did you make that transition then? So, you didn't just decide one day I'm going to be a fitter and all of a sudden you're a fitter. Yeah. What was your route into it? It kind of was that. It was I need to be able to do this. So I left, I worked for Travis Perkins at the time, and this was when we were back in Norfolk, and I left Travis Perkins and I started actually in the office, and then as each day went on, it was during COVID, it was actually, I'm not needed in the office, I'm needed on site, and I slowly progressed from 1 to 2 days on site to full-time.
Yeah. So learning on the job, is that how it sort of worked? Yeah. So was you working with, was it Harry at the time? Yes. So you was literally sort of following everything he was doing, and and what sort of properties? Was you working in construction or in refurbishment? How did that sort of come about? What type of environment you worked in?
It was just renovation in that sense, kitchens and bathrooms mainly. Got it. Just going in and redoing what was already there.
Understand. So in terms of sort of making that transition, because as I've kind of alluded to, not many females in the trade generally. I think why do you think that might be then? Because obviously you're flourishing it. It seems to be working really well for you.
Yeah, I think it's definitely pushed more at schools and places like that towards
you think
males.
It is being? Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think it's more pushed in that sense when you're at school. If you're a male, you kind of get pushed in this way, and females not so much.
Why? Why is that?
I just think it's the old school way, if you know what I mean. I do think it's your dad was a tradesman, so the son goes into it 9 times out of 10. Yeah. There are more and more females that I'm seeing looking at it.
Right.
But I think it's mainly, it is, if your dad's a builder, you potentially are going to follow in that footsteps.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, I think it's a lot of, if you had a daughter, would you be potentially pushing her to go construction, or would you? You
know, it's interesting because I have got a daughter that's going through that process at the moment. So she's going through the process of sort of deciding what she wants to do with her life's 14. So she's looking at her options and picking what she's doing the following year, etc. And I think once upon a time, you're right. I don't think it would have been a trade that you would have automatically pushed them towards. But funny enough, she is showing a bit of an interest in the trade. And I think she kind of, maybe it's just me, hearing me harp on about it for so long. But I wouldn't be disappointed if she went into that, genuinely wouldn't. And I think once upon a time, and I've said this before, is that Theresa May, former Prime Minister, once upon a time said, she was at a university in the Midlands somewhere, up this neck of the woods, and she said, in support of apprenticeships, she said, apprenticeships are great, but for other people's children. Now, what she meant by that is, culturally, that's what parents kind of want. And I think, going back to your point earlier, is it that schools aren't pushing it so much, or is it because socially it's not really the thing, and maybe parents are more of an influencing factor than schools could ever be?
I think people think that our job's easy.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people, if you're not doing well at school, you're pushed towards construction.
Yeah, absolutely.
And actually, you need to be quite intelligent to do this.
Oh yeah.
Don't get me wrong, you don't need to know everything when it comes to maths. You don't need to be a maths whiz, but you need to be able to add things up quickly.
You do, yeah.
You need to be able to work out angles. We've just done a load of skirting up the stairs.
It's not easy.
No, not at all, especially when you've got 4 different cuts that you've got to make, and it is an art. It's an art to do our job, and if you do it well, you can earn well from it.
Yeah.
If you do it poorly, and I think that's the biggest problem. We did have an apprentice that came out and did work with us on a trial period, and he was doing construction at college, and we are actually going to look at going into that college and seeing what they're doing, because actually what they're being taught isn't quite correct. And I think that's another problem when it comes to our industry. It's making sure the right people are teaching the right people.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I think it's like anything really. I think apprenticeships should be driven by the industry as opposed for, potentially learning colleges, because, ultimately they know how to deliver, but they don't necessarily know course content. But as you know, we're doing a lot of work in that area at the moment, and we see there's going to be potential for huge development. So that's really, really positive. But so from your point of view, then your experience, what's worked well for you? So what's keeping you doing what you're doing at the moment?
Everything that I do is for our little boy, Harrison. The business is named after him. It's that thing. That's my drive. It's giving him the life that I would want him to have.
What do you mean by that then? So in terms of your availability, in terms of the lifestyle, what do you mean?
When he goes to school, so he's not quite 3 yet, so we've got a little bit of time, but when he goes to school, I want to be able to go to his school and do things like sports days. Yeah. Now, I can't do that if you work a 9 till 5 job. It's not, you can, but it's not as easy. Yeah. Whereas I own my own business. I either get somebody in to sort it and cover me, or I just shut, because actually what's the most important thing to me is my family.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And everything is for Harry and Harrison, and making sure that we can all be a family.
So it's almost that, having that control as a business owner to do pretty much what you want.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So, but how about the drawbacks then? So we've looked at the positives of doing.
I work 24/7.
Yeah, okay. Which is kind of contradicting what you've just said, really, because you've said you can open up more time. Now you're saying that there is no time.
So it's that thing of to give us the time to go and do everything for Harrison. I work all the time. Yeah. So the weekends we're working, even if we're not got the showroom open. So from Saturday we are open 9 till 5. However, on a Sunday we'll always be shut. That's family day. Yeah. But in the evenings and that, once Harrison goes to bed, I'm online doing quotes, I'm researching, I'm doing marketing, even little things down to looking at Pinterest, at trends and what's going on. And
so you make a good point there, because I think this is, you know, part of the value of actually having you talk at colleges and really educating people as to what the trade's all about. Because, you know, if you're naive to it, you'd think potentially that it's just fitting kitchens or bathrooms, but it isn't. It's so much more than that, isn't it? It's, there's so much more effort on, you know, running a business, and be that marketing, being that sort of the finance element of the business, you know, whatever it may be, there's a hell of a lot involved.
So we're sad when we go away. So we love going to Northumberland. Northumberland is our home.
Yeah.
When we go away and we see a kitchen and bathroom showroom, we actually go in and we have a look and we see what kind of things they're doing to improve us and make sure that what we're putting into the showroom and what we're selling is going to work. Yeah. But we like seeing other businesses and what they're doing. That
makes sense.
So that's where I mean I work 24/7. Even when we're on holiday, we're still...
You never turn off.
No.
So what bit of advice would you give your younger self then? So, I mean, you're not old by any stretch of the imagination. So your younger self was talking to you yesterday almost. But if you could, back at that beginning of the journey, and it's what, 5 years, you talk about COVID, so it's not that long ago. But what piece of advice would you perhaps give yourself?
Just keep going.
Yeah.
Just don't give up. Just keep going. It's worth it. It is. Going from working in a job that you are working 9 till 5, you leave and you go home and you've got no stress and you don't think about it. It sounds like that's the better route, but actually, financially, because things can go through the business that, for example, our cars and that go through the business, things like that, financially you're better off. And because it's yours, you care so much more. And your customers see that. All of our reviews are absolutely glowing. Yeah. Everything that we do is for our customers. A lot of our customers become friends. We actually took a customer to the BiKBBI Awards a few months ago. Like, everything that we're doing now is completely worth it.
Very good.
Already we've seen a massive change to our lives just by going self-employed.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of benefits. I mean, like you say,
it's difficult.
Yeah, the drawbacks are you're always on duty almost, even when you're on holiday, but nevertheless, it's your business, your empire, you're growing it for you and your family, which there's a lot to be said about.
It's rewarding. It is rewarding. And only being young, I'm only 25, so doing it this young as well, there is massive perks to that hopefully I can retire early.
What do your mates think about it? So let's talk about social circles now, you know, so you're standing in a pub with your mates and they're all going around, probably a lot of typical jobs that are being sort of, what do you do for a living? Well, fairly typical jobs that you kind of hear, and then it comes to you and you're a kitchen fitter. So...
a lot of it, to be honest, a lot of our friends are in the industry.
Oh, okay.
A lot of, when you live and breathe this job, you need an electrician and you need a plasterer and you need and then actually at the end of the day, if you go to the pub, that's who you're going with. We all kind of, that's your circle.
Of course.
So when it comes to that talk, we all know each other anyway, and you probably all talk about work and that they've got to go to your customers later on in the week anyway. So.
What's the most challenging thing about the job that you do then? So I know the hours you've mentioned can be quite challenging, but is there anything else that, you know...
The job itself is very challenging. The physical labour behind it, you're exhausted at the end of the day, especially with trying to open a showroom at the same time. It is just constant. You're finishing work. It's taken us 2 years to do the showroom, and that's because we've rewired it, put new windows and doors. We're not in an industrial building, we're in an old building that we've saved. Which is phenomenal, because when a customer walks in and says, well, how do I know you can do your job? I can just stand there and be like, well, we've redone this. But the physical side to it is, it's constant, it is tiring. Your body hurts at the end of the day. Physically, it's exhausting.
Because I guess that would be the stereotypical sort of response as to why girls don't do manual labour, because they physically can't. Obviously you can, but it is tough. But I think it's tough for everybody,
There's certain things I'm not going to deny. Lifting things, I'm not going to be able to lift as much as a man, because my body isn't built that way. However, getting into a small space, I'm potentially
sorted. You're all over that.
Potentially better with that than certain people. Obviously, some men are better at that than me, but there is pros and cons to it. And actually, lifting things is completely different. If you think about lifting weights in a gym, it's a completely different kind of lifting when you're lifting on site. Absolutely. looking at me, I'm not the biggest, strongest person, but I can lift more than what you probably think I can, because I've had to do it, and because it's lifting a toilet pan upstairs and things like that. It's a different kind of lifting.
Very good. Okay, so you're potentially talking to a lot of people out there, and you know, I think this video in particular we will certainly push as part of our whole diversity campaign. So what piece of advice would you give to other females that are interested, or maybe even not even sure of career choices? What would you say to them right now?
It's a tough industry. However, it is worth it, especially if you look at going by yourself. It is worth it in the long run. You have to take some stick. It is still a male-dominated environment.
It is,
So there is a lot of banter when it comes to that, and you have to have thick skin, and you have to take that. But it's worth it. It's worth it in the long run. Good.
Well, I think that's great advice, and I think certainly from your perspective, we clearly need, in a time of skills gap, which we're in at the moment, there aren't enough tradespeople out there to service the needs, be that in construction or remodelling. So there is an absolute need for us to be creative in terms of our workforce. And I would certainly say that a career in kitchen, bedroom and bathroom installation is a rewarding one. It's not an easy one, as you've alluded, but it is something that you should give a go. And I have to say, entering an industry that is male dominated is not going to be an easy ride. I think you would have had it harder than many in terms of your entry into industry. So it's even more commendable that you're doing so well. And
it's satisfying though, because when you get them people that are like, oh, but you're not a man, it's like, no, but I can still do it.
You can still do it, absolutely,
So it is rewarding, and at the end of the day, everything is for your customer. As long as your customer's happy at the end, nothing else matters in that sense.
Of course, because that just opens the door to the next customer, right?
Absolutely.
Very good. Excellent. So when does the showroom open?
28th.
Amazing.
On Saturday.
So, that's my birthday, just saying.
Happy birthday.
We're enjoying nevertheless. I'm sure it'll be absolutely fantastic. I know you've put a lot of hard work and effort into that, both of you. And you know, as I say, I take my hats off you. But thank you very much for joining us today. I really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll see more and more of you.
Absolutely.
Lovely stuff. Thank you very much. So you've been watching the BiKBBI TV YouTube channel. Lots more content coming over this show. So yeah, please do keep an eye on the YouTube channel at BiKBBI TV. Thank you very much for joining us, Olivia. Good luck for Saturday. Thank you.